Babes, I'm exhausted. Can you tell? Can you tell? Needless to say, I'm functioning off of a wing and a prayer. What month is it, babes? Like, what month are we in? March. Let's get into this March reading wrap up.
I need you, yeah, I really do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. All I know is hit them all and see what damage I could do. I give you the world, but there's other planets too. And I need someone to be patient with me. Someone to get money with, not take it from me. But they don't even need to be as famous as me. I don't think I meet them at the places I be, but
How y'all let me come on camera looking like this, y'all? I look like hell runneth over. I thought y'all loved me for real. Why wouldn't y'all tell me I look like dog shit? I'm drinking kombucha. This is one of my favorite flavors. Good for your gut. Good gut health. Okay, guys, I know if you're new here, it just already seems like a lot. I get it. I get it. I apologize. Either way, I'm Morris. Welcome to my channel. Over here, I read books, I read tarot, and I read people. To all of my OGs, welcome back. To all of the newbies, pull up a chair, babes, because it gets chaotic over here. But don't fret, it's still very much a vibe. Now, I know I'm kind of giving block energy, you guys, and I apologize, but you know, it's been one hell of a month, okay? The kids got sick, and then I got sick, and then here I am, you know, running off of fumes. And I hope y'all don't mind, but I'm about to get real comfy, okay? I'm about to get real comfy. Just ride with me, rock with me. I'm trying to pull up my handy dandy Goodreads. If you don't follow me over there, you should do so. Okay, you guys, so from what I can see, I've actually read 7 books this month. Go me. Despite everything that's been going on, I read 7 books. Not too shabby. One of them I did actually read in February. However, I did my wrap up a little bit early, so I didn't include this book. Oh, no. I lied. I started reading this book, but I didn't complete it, so I just didn't add it to that particular wrap up. But I did complete it. I want to say that on the 27th. Yeah, the 27th of February. So I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all what it is. It is called The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez. I'll make sure I post it over there in the corner for y'all to see. I heard a lot about Abby Jimenez. I've never read anything by this author before. So when I saw that she was dropping like a little Valentine's Day novella type situation, I was like, why not? It's a short read. I can kind of get a vibe for her, see if I like the writing style, see if, you know, if I can kind of resonate with the characters or whatever have you. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do not remember the characters' names, okay? I read this on my Kindle, and again, it was a short story, and it was February, right? Don't remember the characters' names, but I do know that I had a decent time with this book. I ended up rating this book 4 stars. I will say I was definitely impressed by this book. I don't know what I was really thinking I was going to get into reading anything by Abby, but I'm not complaining. I did have a good time with this, and I did really enjoy her writing style. This book definitely gave forced proximity, and it was like an insta love story, which I mean makes sense because it's a novella, but the way that the story flows and the tropes that were included in the story made it that much better. Sorry, you guys, I had to go check on my son. But anyway, the story follows two, I don't know their names, y'all. It's a FMC who is in hiding, essentially. And I'm not going to tell you why, but she's in hiding. Uh, and then you have the MMC who is newly divorced. And basically, they come outside their apartment building, they're getting ready to start their day, and then they realize the stairs to their apartment building is gone. They have vanished, okay? So apparently, I guess, construction or whatever, were supposed to do some maintenance on some stairs, rebuild the stairs or whatever like that. And they took down the stairs to the wrong apartment unit. So now both the FMC and the MMC is trapped on the top floor of their apartment and they can't leave. They can't leave. I want to say it's like a Friday or something. So it's the weekend. They're stuck for the whole weekend. And it just so happens to be Valentine's Day weekend. And then, of course, neither one of them have a person. So they end up just like spending time with each other throughout the whole book. It was a really, really cute read. What also made this book interesting, the simple fact that it's a novella and it was like rom-com and insta-cute and damn forced proximity or whatever like that. It did have some realistic life experiences that both of the characters were going through. So it made it very interesting the way that she like wrote this out and had the storyline just kind of flow. I do feel like the ending was a little bit rushed, but I don't hold it against the book or the author because again, this is a novella, so like what else do you expect? But I did enjoy it. I liked the characters. I liked their, little insta love story or whatever have you. And I'm interested to see what else is in Abby's backlist. Okay. So like I said, I did write this 4 stars. This was my first time reading anything by Abby and I thought it was a good time. Okay, you guys, the next book that I have here is Only for Tonight by Kimmy Farrell. This too was a novella. I read this on my Kindle and I had a decent time with this one too. I really, really did. Now, this one was a little more on the spicy side. The Fall Risk didn't have any spice at all, which I'm not against. But Only for Tonight was a little bit on the spicy side. But what I liked about it is, baby, it was a novella. How do you do a slow burn in a novella? I have never read a spicy novella that was a slow burn or like a romance book, a romance novella that was a slow burn because novellas are short stories. To make it a slow burn, that was very, very interesting to me and I enjoyed that. Now, I don't remember the names to the FMC and MMC in this one either, y'all. I'm so sorry. But like I said, this one was a insta lovey slash lust type of book. But the vibes between the MMC and the FMC were believable. And that's what I need when I'm reading any type of book. Like, I need to believe that y'all really like each other for real, especially when it's like insta love. Like, I need it to make sense. Both of the characters were extremely confident, and I love that. They were extremely successful. Love that even more. The FMC was a fashion designer and the MMC was a basketball player, but he also owned other businesses. The FMC was coming out of this like verbally or emotionally abusive relationship, so to speak. He was a very insecure man, to say the least, or whatever. And she was basically like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to live my life type ordeal. And she bumped into the MMC, and they just kind of like had this thing from the moment they laid eyes on each other. It was tension, babes. They had tension. The banter between them two, the banter was everything. I enjoyed the banter between them. And I just feel like the author did such a good job at edging us throughout the book because we know what they're here for. Because it was giving like one night stand type of vibes, clearly. But it's like, we know what y'all here for. We know what y'all trying to do. But the fact that like she paced it out, you know what I mean? Like there were little things that happened here and there. But the big act, if you know what I mean, like it didn't happen until more than 50% into the book. And I love the way that she did that. It was like a nice little build up, not only for the characters, but for the readers. And they had their little happily ever after at the end. So I love that even more. I actually never read anything by this author either, but I did enjoy her writing style as well. I believe I rated this one 4 stars too. Okay, babes. The next book that I completed is The God's Keeper by M.L. Burns. Now, as y'all know, if you've been subscribed for a minute, this is book 3 in the Keeper series. The first book is Hourglass Keeper. The second one is Dragon's Keeper. And then you have a novella that's in there that is The Keeper's Moon. And then you have The God's Keeper, which is the next installment. Now, I had a lot to say about this book, but I actually did a reading vlog for this, so I'm not going to say too much. If you want to hear more about my thoughts, you can head over to the reading vlog where I do like a deep dive into all of my, all of my thoughts, my positives, my negatives, so on and so forth. But with this book, this wasn't my favorite of the series. I'll just say that it wasn't my favorite. I'm still having a good time with the series. I'm still enjoying the series and the storyline, and I absolutely love the characters. For those that are interested in this series, it is on the dark romantasy vibe, okay? So it's full-blown fantasy, but it is that darkness undertone. So if you're not into that, then, steer clear. If you're interested, definitely read your trigger warnings because there's a lot that goes on in this book. There's a lot of subplots within the main plot, which makes it that much interesting. And the characters are to die for. Like, there's literally, I just love these characters like family, okay? I love these characters so much. But it is Why Choose, it's reverse harem, fated love, a lot of other tropes. Now, like I said, this one wasn't my favorite of the series. So I did rate this one around 3.5 stars. For me, that's not a bad rating because that means I either had a good time with it or I had a decent time with it. I just had some negatives that came along with the reading experience. But I do still recommend reading this series if this is something that you're into because the series itself is chef kiss. The next book I got into, this one has actually been on my Kindle for a while. For one of the like Stuff Your Kindle Days or Black Readers Appreciation event. I can't remember which one, but I've had this for a minute and I finally got into it because I just wanted something to read. I just wanted something quick to get into. This one was also a novella. This one is called Corked by I.M. Bennett. And it was like a enemies to lovers type of vibe. If I'm being completely honest, now that I'm like thinking about it and I'm talking about it, I initially rated this book a 3-star, but I don't know if it was really given a 3-star, babes. I'm not even gonna lie. Now that I'm like thinking about it, and it's been a couple of days since I've let this book go, what I found interesting about this book was the talk about wine. So the FMC is like a wine connoisseur, okay? She knows all of the different notes in the wine. She knows what to pair different foods with when it comes to the wines. And I found that to be very interesting. I like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So just hearing like the different terminology for it and how she would go about pairing sweets with what foods or dries with what foods and the notes and if you're eating different things have a wine with like a chocolate undertone. It was just a whole vibe. Like I really did enjoy that aspect of it, but I will say I wasn't a fan of the love connection between her and the other FMC. So this one is, I should have started with that. This one is a sapphic romance. Um but it wasn't really giving enemies to lovers. Like they weren't enemies. You know what I'm saying? It's just like she had a run-in with a food critic. The food critic didn't really like the wine that she paired the food with, so she wrote a bad review on the restaurant. And then from that moment like they had an exchange, like they shared words one time before, and then after that they were in love. Now granted, it is a novella, so like it does move a little bit at a faster pace, but it just wasn't giving enemies to lovers because they didn't hate each other. They weren't at each other's throats, you know what I mean? Like they didn't hate each other throughout this book. They just had that one little like moment and then that was it. So I don't know. I had a decent time with this. It wasn't nothing that I would like really remember or think about. The only thing that stood out to me was just the whole wine aspect of the book. Outside of that, if I'm being completely honest, I could have done without it. The next book that I got into, I actually listened to this on Audible and it was a buddy read with Brittany. This one is Ace of Spades. Y'all, I had so many thoughts about this book. It ain't make no sense. I completed this book, I want to say, in 2 days' time. I don't even know where to begin, babes. Like, this book it was a very good book, but it was also very, very triggering. It was very, very triggering, y'all. So, think of Pretty Little Liars. If you've ever watched Pretty Little Liars, it was giving that. The author compares it to Gossip Girl. I personally have never seen Gossip Girl, so I don't really know what that entails. But she compares it to Gossip Girl, and she compares it to the movie Get Out combined, like both of those combined. So being that I've never seen Gossip Girl, the first thing that popped in my head was Pretty Little Liars, because that's what it was giving for me. So it was like a mixture of Pretty Little Liars and Get Out. And babes, so you have the MMC. What was that baby's name? What was his name? Was it Devon? I may have it wrong, but I think his name was Devon. And the FMC's name was Chiamaka. Okay. And both of them went to this predominantly white elite school, high school, right? They were the only black kids in the school. So, what I liked about the book is the two different POVs that they give when it comes to black culture, or just, I can't even say black culture, just culture in general. You have Chiamaka, who grows up on the side of money. So she's born into money. She doesn't really have to, she doesn't have to need or want for anything in a financial sense. So naturally, she fits in more with the in crowd because she comes from money. Whereas Devon comes from the opposite side of the track, and he has a one parent household. His mom is like struggling to make ends meet. You know what I mean? And then to top on the fact that he's gay. Okay, so you put them in the school, and it's just very interesting to see the different sides of things, because for him, he just naturally doesn't feel like he fits in because everybody around him they come from money. He's only there based off of the fact that he's just super fucking smart, and he ended up getting a scholarship to get there. Whereas Chiamaka, she has money. So from her standpoint, is like the things that start happening to them in this school, from his standpoint, is like it's still shocking because it's happening from people that he really thought were his friends. From her, it's like she knows that these people don't like her, but because she has money and she's in the in crowd, she feels like she should be more accepted. It's a very interesting storyline. But the things that start happening to these kids is wild. They say this is a YA book, but honestly, babes, YA where? Like the things that were going on in this book, I was literally punching the air. I was punching the air. So like me personally, I stay away from books that have like heavy black trauma because it disturbs my spirit. Okay. It disturbs my spirit, and it puts me in a space that I've worked very hard to come out of, and I don't like being in that space. Like it made me very angry. It made me very like resentful and bitter. Um and I just don't like being in that energy. You know what I mean? I had a very good time with this book, but yeah, it disturbed my spirit. And then on top of that, I wasn't a fan of the ending. The things that they did to these kids, the ending needed to be so much better, how I feel. But in retrospect, I understand why it was written that way, because in actuality, in the black community, there isn't always justice. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it was a happy ending in the book, but it wasn't the justice that us as black readers felt was warranted. Is we needed more than what we got. You know what I mean? But realistically speaking, we don't always get the justice that we deserve in my community, and it just is what it is. I hate that that's a fact, but that's just what the reality of it is. We don't always get the justice that we deserve when certain things happen to us or happen to people in our community. So It was a very interesting book. I did end up rating this book 4 stars just solely based off of the ending. I just wasn't a fan of the ending for real. And then also, it just brought up a lot of turmoil for me. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't give it a 5 star, but it was a decent read. I do think a lot of people should get into this book because it just allows you to see different things. Like the things that happen in this book is not far fetched. And that's crazy to say because if you read it, the plot is wild. The shit that's going on in this book is absolutely insane. It's wild, but it's not far fetched. It's not far fetched from a long shot. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the reality of people, not only not only in the black community, but also in the gay community. So I'll leave that where it's at. The next book I read is Phantom by H.D. Carlton. And y'all, I devoured this book. I ate this book up. The amount of annotations that I did while reading this on my tablet, like I need this book immediately on my shelf. Like immediately. Like that's how much I love this book, y'all. So if you haven't read Hunting and Hunting Adeline, I'm not judging you. Okay. Like to each his own, babes. It's not everybody's cup of tea. All right. However, I do feel like I do highly feel like the cat and mouse duet is misunderstood. Is very misunderstood. But hey, I'm not here to convince anybody to read anything. Either way it goes, this one is a spin-off of the cat and mouse duet. And within the cat and mouse duet, they talk about Adeline's great grandmother. And Adeline is the FMC in that duet. And the great grandmother pops up a lot within the series, and unfortunately she was brutally unalived in that story. This happened years before, Adeline even was born, you know what I mean? But the grandmother's story comes up because she ends up finding her grandmother's journal throughout the book, and the grandmother is basically talking about this love affair that she had with someone. And although this isn't the main plot of the cat and mouse duet, it is like a subplot, just kind of trying to figure out what happened to her great grandmother. Like, was it her stalker that unalived her? Was it her husband? Was it somebody else? You know what I'm saying? So this book kind of like takes us into a deeper dive of what happened. Now we get to see the love story between her and her quote unquote stalker. And the reason why I'm using air quotes is because he wasn't there for her. Okay. Ronaldo was actually this book actually gave more mafia vibes versus like straight up dark romance. Okay. Because Genevieve, that's the great grandmother, her husband had a gambling problem. And you already know how this works. If you have a gambling problem, you owe people money that you probably shouldn't be owing money to, right? So now his life is in danger, and the guy that they send after him is, sent over there to kind of keep an eye on him and see how he's moving and, possibly take him out, right? And upon watching him and trying to get tabs on him, he ends up falling in love with Genevieve. And it was kind of like one of those love at first sight types things. Like he sees Genevieve and he's immediately just enamored with her, right? So, like I said, he initially wasn't there for her. It wasn't like no stalking, like he wasn't there for her. He was there for the husband, okay? But their love story just kind of spiraled out of control. And her husband just is very interesting to see what happens in relationships in marriage because that's why they say you never know a person until you see them at their lowest because when they first got together, he was great. You know what I'm saying? At least, the way that she thought that he was great. But the moment they started having money issues and he started getting himself in trouble, everything switched. And now she's a punching bag, not literally, but now she's a punching bag. And, he has resentment because she's a stay at home mom and he feels like he's doing everything under the sun and all she does is just sit at home and twiddle her thumbs and take care of their daughter. It's one of those. And this story is actually taking place in like the 1940s, 50s, 60s, somewhere around there. I want to say 1940s is where it's taking place. So you already know the type of mindset that they're in when it comes to women. But just to kind of see like the way that her marriage was with her husband and then her love affair with Ronaldo, it was just Ronaldo was everything, babes. Like their love story was just so cute and it was so beautiful to see, and the way is she deserved to be loved the way that Ronaldo loved her. Now, the only reason I didn't rate this 5 stars, I rated it 4.5 actually. The only reason I didn't rate it 5 stars is because the ending is a little bit bittersweet. Although we know that Genevieve was unalived in the cat and mouse duet, this isn't a spoiler, you guys. I mean, is it a spoiler? It's not a part of the main plot, so it's not really a spoiler. You know what I mean? But we know what happens to Genevieve before this book even came out. So when we went into this book, we were looking to see or find out like what were the events that led up to her demise, you know? But she didn't give us that. HD didn't give us that. And I'm not necessarily mad at it because the way that she wrote this was just the love story. She just wanted us to see the love story. Like she wanted us to know Genevieve's life prior to meeting Ronaldo and how Ronaldo made her feel more alive and how their love story just blossomed into something beautiful. And just the final page, just them talking about like even death can't will never keep me from you type thing, just knowing what her story just knowing how her story ends, it was just so bittersweet and so sad because she just deserved so much more. She deserved so much more than how her life ended, you know what I mean? So I really 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 did enjoy this book, and I can't wait to get the physical copy. Like I need the physical copy on my shelf, y'all, because I want to reread it and just annotate the hell out of it. Okay, y'all. So now we're finally down to the last book that I've read so far this month, and this is The Spy Who Ghosted Me by Jennifer Peel. Now, I actually read this on a whim. This was not in my plans. I never even heard of Jennifer Peel before, but I think I had just finished reading Phantom and this book just happened to pop up in like the books that you may like type thing. And I was like, well, this sounds interesting, you know? So I just downloaded it and I read it. And that's kind of how I got into it. This was actually a fun little book. It's a rom-com, and they have a cute little like meet cute type situation, and it's like forbidden lovers but also second chance romance type thing. The MMC is the spy, and you already know when spies you can't know anything about their life, so they end up meeting in Paris or whatever for like 2 months because he's on an assignment. She has no idea, and then next thing you know he ends up ghosting her because that's what the job required, and they fell in love, you know, but she doesn't know where he is. She doesn't know what happened to him. And then she finally just comes to terms with the fact that, you know, she got ghosted. But then 3 years later, he pops back up because his next assignment is after he's after a jewelry smuggler or something like that. And the jewelry smuggler just so happens to be marrying the FMC's sister. Clock that T. So now 3 years later, they're bumping into each other again, and of course, she's livid because you left me. And now he has to like play another role and kind of use her in the process to get his assignment completed. So it's just a whole thing. I rated this book 3 stars. I had a good time with this book. Some parts were actually really really funny. Um there was a part that was like just super annoying. I was just tired of hearing about chemicals being mixed, and not in that way. There's no spice in this book for real. Like there's talk that kind of alludes to spice, but there's no spice for real. But just, you know, the endorphins is what she's referring to. Every time he's around, it's like he's mixing her chemicals, and it's just like something that's repeatedly talked about throughout the book. So it's just kind of annoying after a while. But for the most part, I had a good time with this book. Like I really wanted to see what happened next, you know. The only reason I didn't rate it like 4 stars is because I'm probably not going to think about it again. Like I had a good time while I was in it, but it's not like a memorable book for me, you know. So that's all, you guys. That's all of the books that I read for this month. I very well may read something else because babes, it's only the 24th. It's only the 24th. Yeah, we still have a couple of days before March is over, so I might end up getting into another book. But if I do, I'll just include it in April's wrap up whenever we get around to that. So, yeah, y'all, that is all that I have. Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it this far, leave me some love in the comments, okay? Drop some love down in the comments. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here and you enjoy the vibes. Hopefully, one of the books that I talked about may interest you guys. You know what I'm saying? But I hope y'all had a decent reading month. And even if you didn't, I hope you had a good month in general. I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. And I'll catch you in the next one, okay? Bye.